Direct News TV. November 13, 2023. Israel-Hamas war live, more Palestinians killed as Israeli attacks continue. More than 30 people have been killed in northern Gaza's Jabalia refugee camp after Israeli strikes hit at least 12 homes in the Nadi Qatamat district. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees says operations will grind to a halt if no fuel is allowed into the besieged Palestinian enclave by Wednesday. Hospitals in northern Gaza have been forced to shut down as Israeli forces continue to attack medical facilities. More than 11,200 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7. In Israel, the official death toll from Hamas's attacks stands at more than 1,200. Australian Greens criticise government for opposing student strike in support of Palestinians. The Australian Greens, Australia's third biggest political party, has criticised the government for opposing a planned student strike in support of Palestinians. Greens education spokesperson Senator Penny Allman-Payne said on Tuesday that the Labour Party government should support school students' democratic right to protest instead of making patronising comments about staying in class. The right to protest is an essential part of living in a democracy. We should find it heartening that this generation of school kids is prepared to join millions around the world in exercising that right over such fundamentally important issues, Allman-Payne said in a statement. It's clear that Australian school students have seen through the platitudes. They know that it is morally indefensible to refuse to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. Allman-Payne's comments came after Federal Education Minister Jason Clare said on Monday that school students should be at school during school hours instead of joining the planned school strike for Palestine walkout on November 23. A selection of our recent reporting. Here's a selection of some of our recent reporting from the occupied Palestinian territories, Israel and around the world. From Deir el-Balah, Gaza Strip, in a flash, Melissa Judah lost 60 family members and use of her legs. From Ramallah, occupied West Bank, not just a number, a protest and a funeral in the West Bank. From Jerusalem, Bring Hirsch Home, football club waits for Israeli lefty, Hamas captive. In pictures, Rabbi helps occupied West Bank farmers amid rising Israeli settler violence. Watch, why has David Cameron returned to frontline politics in the UK? Opinion, never forget is now. Israeli bulldozer demolishes infrastructure in occupied West Bank's Tulkarem. A video posted by Al Jazeera Arabic on X showed an Israeli bulldozer demolishing part of a narrow street in the occupied West Bank city of Tulkarem early on Tuesday. This followed a deadly night raid in the city's refugee camp that left at least 5 young Palestinian men dead. A separate Al Jazeera Arabic post also showed damaged vehicles that had been crushed by Israeli bulldozers. Blinken addresses State Department dissent over U.S. support for Israel. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has moved to address criticism from staff within the U.S. State Department over the Biden administration's support for Israel's war on Gaza. I know that for many of you, the suffering caused by this crisis is taking a profound personal toll, Blinken said in an emailed letter to State Department staff obtained by the Reuters news agency. The anguish that comes with seeing the daily images of babies, children, elderly people, women, and other civilians suffering in this crisis is wrenching. I feel it myself, Blinken wrote, according to Reuters. I also know that some people in the department may disagree with approaches we are taking or have views on what we can do better. We've organized forums in Washington to hear from you, and urged managers and teams to have candid discussions at posts around the world precisely so we can hear your feedback and ideas. I've asked our senior leadership to keep doing that, he said. We're listening, what you share is informing our policy and our messages, he added. At least 3 internal cables criticizing U.S. policy on Gaza have been filed with the State Department's internal dissent channel, which was established during the U.S. war in Vietnam to allow officials and diplomats to raise policy concerns anonymously. All Gaza hospitals could shut down in 48 hours, Health Ministry. In an interview with Al Jazeera Arabic, Dr. Ashraf al-Qudra, the spokesman for Gaza's health ministry, said that due to fuel shortages, all of the besieged enclave's hospitals could shut down in 48 hours. The spokesman said that healthcare has already been out of service, particularly in the northern part of Gaza. The two largest medical facilities in Gaza, the Al-Shifa and Al-Quds hospitals, shut operations on Monday, citing a lack of fuel to keep medical equipment working. UNRWA has described the situation in Gaza as dire and has called for a ceasefire and the urgent delivery of humanitarian aid to the internally displaced Palestinians. Indonesians boycott McDonald's, Starbucks over support for Israel. Some Indonesians are boycotting U.S. businesses including McDonald's after the fast food chain's Israeli franchisee announced it had donated meals to the Israeli army. The boycotts come as Indonesian President Joko Widodo is in the U.S. where he will attend the APEC summit in San Francisco. On Monday, Widodo said a ceasefire is a must for the sake of humanity, and that the U.S. should do more to stop the atrocities in Gaza at a White House meeting with Joe Biden. Brazil's Lula blasts Israel's inhumane violence against women, children in Gaza. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva blasted Israel's brutality and violence as he personally welcomed home Brazilian and Palestinian nationals who were trapped in the Gaza Strip. Lula greeted the evacuees on the runway as their plane landed. At 78 years old, I have seen a lot of brutality and violence, Lula wrote on social media later. But I have never seen such inhumane violence against innocent people. Hamas committed an act of terrorism, but Israel's response is also lethal against innocent children and women, he said. Destruction of everything that was built with a lot of struggle, such as schools and hospitals. The Brazilian government will continue fighting for peace, demanding humanist behavior from other presidents, for a ceasefire, he added. We will not leave anyone behind, Lula also said of Palestinian families of Brazilians who want to leave Gaza. Pro-Palestine demonstrators clash with police near U.S. Embassy in Manila. At least 100 young Filipino protesters, carrying banners supporting Palestinian rights, clashed with police in the capital Manila as they pushed their way towards the U.S. Embassy. A video posted on X by the Manila-based radio station DZBB showed police in riot gear shoving the protesters, some of whom fell on the ground. The marchers eventually made it to the street in front of the U.S. Embassy, blocking part of it and causing huge traffic in the area. The protesters denounced the U.S. role in providing Israel with weapons for its war in Gaza. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.